You're checking in with the doctor for the greatest fantasy baseball podcast in the world, starring your hosts, Dr. Fantasy.
I'm ready to rock and roll today.
And Rydawg.
A Harrison masturbator.
Welcome to Doc and Dog, your fantasy baseball geniuses, presented by the Fantasy Holics.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Doc and Dog, presented by the Fantasy Holics. My name is Jordan Jaika, aka Dr. Fantasy, and I am here with my co-host Rydawg, and this is going to be the last installment of our starting pitcher rankings. So we are talking our consensus rankings number 1 through 6 today, the top 6 starting pitchers. So we will jump right into it. Number 6 is Shane Bieber. I have him ranked 6th. You have him ranked 7th. Last season, he was 15-8, 214 innings pitched, 259 strikeouts, a 3.28 ERA, a 1.05 WHIP. No, he's very young still. I think he still has a ton of upside. Didn't really show any reasons why he can't be a solid starting number 1 pitcher in fantasy leagues. So if he's a guy that's going to get you 200 innings pitched in a full season, right around 250 strikeouts, low whip, good control, good ERA, there's nothing really not to like. I actually debated putting him ahead of Justin Verlander, but I mean, Justin Verlander had 300 strikeouts, and he hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down, so I couldn't quite put him ahead of Verlander yet. But I think for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, we could be talking about Bieber as a top 5 pitcher.
And that's definitely with the reason. Bieber is just a great pitcher. He's the number 1. He's a guy that you want as your number 1 pitcher on your team. And we're going to be discussing that with almost all of these guys. So going forward, the next 6 guys we're talking about, these are any guys you can take as your number 1 and be happy. And I'm excited to see what Bieber can do. He's younger, and we both like taking younger guys over older guys as well.
Yep. I think, too, we're not really talking about ADP much, and I haven't said my great value word very frequently throughout this series, but I think of those top 10 pitchers, Bieber's actually going the lowest. So you could say he offers the most value as a starting pitcher 1, because when you look at Flaherty, Buehler, DeGrom, Cole, Verlander, Strasburg, Scherzer, those are all guys going ahead of Bieber. So I think he offers the most value as a top-end pitcher, too.
I think isn't Corbin going higher than Bieber, or they're going about the same?
On the same. Corbin's going about 10 picks later, so it's the same round, but
value everywhere.
Value. Deals.
Uh-huh.
And then number 5 in our consensus rankings is Justin Verlander. We both have him ranked 5th. Most of our top 6 here is the same. We have one guy that's flip-flop, but Justin Verlander is 5th. We talked about this preview. Well, I'll go through his numbers first. He was 21-6 last season, 223 innings pitched, 300 strikeouts on the nose, a 2.58 ERA, and a .80 whip. So he had the lowest whip of any of these pitchers on the list by a pretty good chunk. So an absolutely dominant season last year at 30. I think he was 37 during the season last year. And he has the injury right now. He'll be fine for the season, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But I really wanted to not put him in the top 5, but I just can't really find a reason not to. Now, I will say with a lot of these starting pitchers is I usually go very hitter-heavy early in drafts because I think you can find some value later on with pitchers. But Verlander's going in the top 20. I think that's a really high price tag for him. But, I mean, I can't argue with it just because he's been so dominant, and I'm trying to find reasons to hate him, and I just can't.
And no, you really can't. I mean, I am too. I'm in the same boat. I mean, I don't want to sit there and have a 37-year-old pitcher as my legit pitcher 1, and then here's Verlander. Well, how about 300 strikeouts for you old age haters? So he's definitely showing us, and I'll take him as my pitcher 1 if he's going to show me up like that.
Yeah, I'll gladly be shown up in that case.
Uh-huh. I agree.
Number 4 is a guy that we have lower than most people. Garrett Cole is our number 4. Last season with the Astros, he was 20-5, had 212 innings pitched, 326 strikeouts, a 2.50 ERA, and the second lowest WHIP at .89, so right under 1 for Garrett Cole as well. And the only reason he's number 4, he's going in the first round in a lot of redraft leagues, which I think is a little insane, but
Yeah.
I think probably you'll agree with me. I think the biggest concern is him going over to the Yankees. Garrett Cole was actually in the top 10 last year for home runs allowed, so that really worries me in that ballpark. I expect his ERA to be more in the threes. And when we're talking about a lot of these guys that have ERAs below threes, I'm really not confident in saying Garrett Cole is going to have an ERA below 3 or a WHIP below 1. So to me, as much as he still is going to strike out a ton of batters, I think all of his other stats are probably going to elevate in a negative way this upcoming season. So that's the only reason I have him at 4.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot. I'm a big believer of people cashing out and getting big contracts and switching over to a team like the Yankees, who have never really had much success in buying really anything in recent years. So I mean, he's getting $300 million. He played his best year last year, and probably the only year he really needed to play was last year. I don't see him performing the way he did last year, and especially going over to the AL East where he has to play at Camden Yards more frequently than not, and a ballpark like Fenway. All those are really, really, and they're both hitters' ballparks. So I'm not taking him those things. I mean, and especially for his value, first round for a pitcher, get the fuck out of here. No one's taking that shit.
Very true. Then the next 2 guys are flip-flop. We had them flip-flop, so I guess I'll start with Jack Flaherty first. So we kind of have him as 2A and 2B right now. Jack Flaherty is currently, I had him second for the record, and Rydawg had him third. And I don't know many people that have him second, so I'm probably a little crazy, and that's okay. He had an 11-8 record last year, 196 innings pitched, 231 strikeouts, a 2.75 ERA, and a .97 WHIP, so under 1 for him as well. So he had a lower WHIP than Buehler, which was kind of a factor for me. He has a higher K rate than Buehler. The only thing I like Buehler over him for is Buehler's on a better team and will most likely have more wins, but I think they're both very elite. But to me, the only thing that kind of edged them out, they're both young. They have a ton of upside. I expect them to both be top 3, 4, 5 pitchers for the next 5+ years. So, you really can't go wrong with either one of them. The other thing I will say is Flaherty's going about 15 picks later. So that's the other reason I'd rather have Flaherty. But, I mean, overall, Flaherty showed a ton of potential, and I think he's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, and when I did that, it was tough for me to rank those lads. Who am I going to put 3? Who am I going to put 2? I think Jack Flaherty. If they switched teams, if Flaherty was on the Dodgers and if Buehler was on the Cardinals, I would definitely have Flaherty. It's the team for me. I'm just going to say it's a team. The Dodgers are easily going to win probably 30 more games than the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are So Flaherty is just capped at like maybe 12 wins. And it really sucks because he will have a low ERA of 2s again for sure. He'll not a low 2. He'll have a low ERA in the high 2s, I should say. So Flaherty's going to be really great. He just needs to get out of St. Louis, in my opinion. He needs to go to a winner team, and he could really be. I think he would be up there in our number 1 and 2. I mean, well, he is in our 2 or 3. So I think the top 3 pitchers are set for the next 5 years.
Yep. Then I'll mention Buehler's stats quickly from last year. He had 14. He had a 14-4 record, 182 innings pitched, 215 strikeouts, a 3.26 ERA, and a 1.04 WHIP. So the 14 wins were only 3 above Flaherty. Pitched about 15 less innings. But I mean, I think the 14 he should have even more with the Dodgers. So I think if you had to put me at gunpoint and said which guy's going to get 20 wins, I mean, the answer is clearly Buehler, but I personally like all the other numbers that come with Flaherty more. But I mean, it's hard to argue with either of them. So definitely 2 and 3 for us. And I mean, I will mention, that's kind of odd though. A lot of people have Garrett Cole after DeGrom or Cole then DeGrom flip flop.
Yeah.
I think we're lower on Cole than a lot of people are.
And I think that's just because great minds think alike, of course. And not to sound cocky, but I think you could. I like the age that comes with. We both like the age of like elite pitchers, I think, as well. So I think with Flaherty and Buehler, you really can't go wrong with either of those guys, honestly. And Buehler only having 14 wins on a Dodger blue team, it is definitely really, really underwhelming. He should have at least 16 going forward. And I think Flaherty could definitely have 12 or 13. Those guys, they had such low wins. It should go up for sure with a full season, of course, if they had.
Then number 1 for both of us is Jacob DeGrom. He was 11 and 8 last season, 204 innings pitched, 255 strikeouts, a 2.43 ERA, and a .97 WHIP, under 1 there. Back-to-back Cy Young winner. He's once again, I was trying to find a reason to knock him off his throne. I mean, I think the Mets are going to be improved, but still not the greatest team. So he's not going to be a guy that probably gets you close to 20 wins. Realistically more in that 15 range. But, I mean, it's just the consistency. And that Cy Young season he had last year didn't even compare to the one he had the year before that. So, I mean, You're talking about a guy, when I said those 255 strikeouts, a 2.43 ERA, I mean, that's kind of like – I mean, that's what you can expect from him. He could be even better than that. So the fact he has that kind of upside, he's once again one of those guys at 31, 32 that just put it together. He just hasn't shown you any reason why he's not the number 1 pitcher and why he couldn't win a 3rd Cy Young in a row.
I completely agree. And I think these top 6 that we just went over, we both had the same guys in the same spots, kind of similar. For the most part, our top 6 was very similar. I believe I had, like you said, I think I had Strasburg in my top 6, and we flip-flopped him and Bieber, I believe.
Yep.
So, but yeah, DeGrom's definitely our unanimous number 1, and he's just consistent as they come. He's just so consistent as a top 3 pitcher. And I don't know. There's just something about Cole. I think this year he's really gonna struggle, and people are really gonna be disappointed. I think for his ADP, he's gonna be a bust, and I don't think that is definitely making an overstatement. I think it's very possible.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll mention too is DeGrom. I'm not taking him at his current ADP just because he's our number 1 pitcher. I think that's important to know. He's going, I think around 12th is his ADP right now, so back end of the first round. If he got to a point where I was one of the last picks in the 2nd, I might start thinking about it. If I had the first pick and he came all the way back to me at 24 in that range, I might start thinking about him. But as a first-round pick, I am not taking him that high.
No way. And I think when we rank these guys, we know who we want as our pitching 1, and we know who we're going to wait. We usually go heavy, and we usually wait for like round 3, round 4 to really start thinking about taking a pitcher. And then there they are, the Biebers, the Strasburgs. I think those guys are there. Flaherty's possibly there too. Flaherty's actually going later than those guys as well, as those guys being Cole and DeGrom. And I'd be happy taking Flaherty at his ADP, actually, to be honest.
16 too.
Yeah, for sure. Buehler's higher. And I ranked Buehler higher than Flaherty just because of the bet being on the better team. And I think that's why the ADP is so much higher for Buehler.
Yep, I would agree. But that wraps it up for our starting pitchers series. That was our top 30. If you guys have any questions, have any comments, disagree with us, feel free as always to comment or message us. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will be doing our catchers next, so keep an eye out for that. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in to Doc and Dog, presented by the Fantasy Holics. If you don't already, subscribe to the Fantasy Holics YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can read over 100 articles on thefantasyholics.com. We usually come up with about 3 to 5 articles a day, so lots of new content all the time. So we will see you guys next time.
Bye. See you later.